There are many key regulators around the globe, whose main goal is to protect us and keep us safe, OFAC being one of them. But what is OFAC? And what do they do to keep us living in a safer place? In today's video, we will be taking a look at what is OFAC, what does OFAC do, and what organisations do OFAC work with. Hello and welcome to another KYC Lookup video where we bring you AML related content to help you enhance your knowledge in the fight against money laundering. Before diving into today's video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a comment with any suggested topics you would like us to cover in the future. So, on to today's video. What is OFAC? OFAC stands for the Office of Foreign Assets Control, which is a regulatory agency in the United States Department of the Treasury. OFAC administers and enforces economic sanction programs against individuals, entities, and countries that the United States government has identified as a threat to the national security or foreign policy objectives. What does OFAC do? The primary responsibility of OFAC is to administer and enforce economic sanction programs that are designed to target activities such as terrorism, drug trafficking, human rights violations, and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. OFAC has the authority to block assets and restrict transactions involving targeted individuals, entities, and countries. It also maintains a list of specially designated nationals, SDNs, and blocked persons, which identifies individuals and entities that are subject to sanctions and whose assets are frozen. OFAC's economic sanctions programs are an important tool in the United States foreign policy toolbox, and they can have significant impacts on the global financial markets, international trade, and the economy. It is important for businesses and individuals to be aware of OFAC regulations and compliance requirements to avoid violations and potential penalties. What organisations do OFAC work with? The Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, works with a variety of organisations to help achieve its mission of enforcing economic and trade sanctions against targeted countries, entities, and individuals. OFAC collaborates with a wide range of federal agencies, foreign governments, financial institutions, and other entities to identify and prevent illicit activities and protect the US financial system. Here are some examples of the organisations that OFAC works with. US government agencies. OFAC works closely with other US government agencies, including the Department of State, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Homeland Security, among others. These agencies provide support to OFAC in its efforts to identify and investigate individuals and entities involved in illicit activities. Foreign governments. OFAC collaborates with foreign governments to help enforce economic and trade sanctions. This includes sharing information and intelligence, coordinating investigations, and working together to prevent the flow of illicit funds. Financial institutions. OFAC works with financial institutions to ensure compliance with sanction regulations. This includes providing guidance and resources to help financial institutions identify and prevent transactions that violate sanctions regulations. Industry associations. OFAC works with industry associations to help ensure that their members are aware of and compliant with sanction regulations. This includes providing training and resources to industry associations and their members. And non-governmental organisations. OFAC works with non-governmental organisations, NGOs, to help prevent the flow of funds to illicit organisations. This includes providing guidance and resources to NGOs to help them identify and prevent transactions that violate sanction regulations. As you can see, OFAC works with a variety of organisations to help enforce economic and trade sanctions against targeted countries, entities, and individuals. By collaborating with federal agencies, foreign governments, financial institutions, industry associations, and NGOs, OFAC is able to identify and prevent illicit activities and protect the US financial system. Who has OFAC put sanctions on? The Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, is responsible for enforcing economic and trade sanctions against targeted countries, entities, and individuals who engage in illicit activities that threaten US national security, foreign policy, or economic interests. Over the years, OFAC has put sanctions on a wide range of individuals, organisations, and governments. Here is a list of some of them. Iranian entities. OFAC has put sanctions on a variety of Iranian entities, including banks, oil companies, and government officials, in response to Iran's nuclear program and support for terrorism. For example, in 2020, OFAC sanctioned Iran's Ministry of Petroleum, National Iranian Oil Company, the National Iranian Tanker Company, among others, for providing financial support to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Force. North Korean entities. OFAC has put sanctions on numerous North Korean entities, including banks, government officials, and military organisations, in response to North Korea's nuclear program and human rights abuses. For example, in 2019, OFAC sanctioned North Korea's Ministry of State Security and its primary intelligence agency for their involvement in human rights abuses and censorship. Venezuelan officials. OFAC has put sanctions on numerous Venezuelan officials, including government officials and military officers, in response to human rights abuses and corruption. For example, in 2020, OFAC sanctioned Venezuela's Ministry of Defense and Director of Military Counterintelligence for their involvement in human rights abuses. Russian entities. OFAC has put sanctions on a variety of Russian entities, including banks, government officials, and individuals, in response to Russia's involvement in the conflict in Ukraine and its annexation of Crimea. For example, in 2021, OFAC sanctioned 6 Russian individuals and 16 entities for their involvement in Russian election interferences and other malicious cyber activities. Terrorist organisations. OFAC has put sanctions on numerous terrorist organisations, including Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Hezbollah, for their involvement in terrorism and other illicit activities. For example, in 2020, OFAC sanctioned 2 Hezbollah officials for their involvement in terrorist activities and the procurement of weapons for Hezbollah. OFAC has put sanctions on a wide range of individuals, entities, and governments for their involvement in illicit activities that threaten US national security, foreign policy, or economic interests. By imposing economic and trade sanctions, OFAC aims to restrict and disrupt the illicit activities of targeted entities and individuals and promote US national security and foreign policy objectives. What rules and regulations does OFAC implement? The Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, is responsible for implementing and enforcing a variety of rules and regulations related to economic and trade sanctions. Here are some of the key rules and regulations that OFAC implements. Specially Designated Nationals and Blocked Persons lists, SDNs lists. The SDN list is a list of individuals, entities and organisations that OFAC has designated as being subject to economic sanctions. US persons and companies are prohibited from doing business with individuals and entities on this list. Sectorial Sanctions Identification Lists, SSI list. The SSI list is a list of entities in the Russian energy, defence and financial sectors that are subject to economic sanctions. US persons and companies are prohibited from doing business with entities on this list, as well as entities that are 50% or more owned by entities on this list. Iranian Transactions and Sanctions Regulations, ITSR. The ITSR are a set of regulations that prohibit US persons and companies from doing business with Iran, including importing goods and services from Iran, exporting goods and services to Iran, and engaging in financial transactions with Iranian entities. Cuban Assets Control Regulations, CACR. The CACR are a set of regulations that prohibit US persons and companies from doing business with Cuba, including importing goods and services from Cuba, exporting goods and services to Cuba, and engaging in financial transactions with Cuban entities. Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. The Global Magnitsky Act is a law that allows OFAC to target individuals and entities engaged in human rights abuses and corruption around the world. OFAC can impose economic sanctions on individuals and entities designated under this law. So to conclude, OFAC implements and enforces a variety of rules and regulations related to economic and trade sanctions. These regulations are designed to target countries, entities and individuals engaged in activities that threaten US national security, foreign policy, or economic interests. By enforcing these regulations, OFAC aims to disrupt the illicit activities of targeted entities and individuals and promote US national security and foreign policy objectives. To find out more about other key regulators around the world, please take a look at our What is a Regulator video. Well, there you have it. What is OFAC? What does OFAC do? And what organisations OFAC works with. Please tell us in the comments section if you think OFAC plays a key role in keeping us all safe, and any other topics you would like us to cover in the future. We have now launched our very own courses for you to take a more in-depth look at a variety of subjects, such as Introduction to AML, Beneficial Ownership, and Customer Risk Rating, for example. So make sure you visit our website for further details, and let us help you connect the dots in KYC. Thank you for watching the video, and if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to watch more amazing videos.